So, good morning everyone watching live on one of the platforms or watching the recording. It's Monday, time for the Monday market analysis, and it was a fun weekend for trading. Some altcoins completely exploded and Bitcoin has finally done it. It made a higher high on the daily. So, looking good. We'll get back to that in a bit. Let's just start as normal, quickly scanning the news. European stock markets starting green, good start there. US pre-market slightly in red, but my guess is it will flip to the upside closer to the market open. Oil taking a pullback, that's a good indication of what stock markets are doing. It seems investors are rotating back from hedge investments back to risk-on assets like stocks and crypto. Same story on the metals, all taking a step back, although long-term still looking very good. Bonds are, lagging behind, I guess, on the things. Big money is still a bit careful. They're betting on aggressive Fed actions, so that's why those are still in favor. But crypto, look at that. Some very good things happening for the crypto market at the moment, as we will see. For the rest, some just scanning what be of influence for Bitcoin. Quickly, got a lot of economic things, events coming up. We'll take a look at that in a bit. Britain will probably reveal some crypto regulations in the coming weeks. Let's see if the people writing those regulations have any idea how crypto works or not. So that will be a fun one to watch. I don't think it will have any impact on the market though, that much. For the rest, the usual geopolitical tensions coming on, but nothing really shocking in the news at the moment. Looking at the calendar, today is relatively quiet, but we have job reports coming up. That could definitely be a mover if the forecast is way down. Also the ADP employments, it's also the jobs. Those are pretty fundamental indications of how the US economy is doing. GDP growth rates and price index. Also personal income, initial jobless claims. I'm not going to highlight them all actually. Personal spending month over month. Some minor Fed speeches, but not the big boys. More unemployment rates, non-farm payrolls. So the ISM, manufacturing, price to market indexes. So a lot of basic, very elemental financial data is coming this week, with the most heavy ones on Tuesday and Wednesday, Thursday. So it could be a bit of a volatile week on that account. Quickly looking at US futures. We had some price confirmation on the bullish harmonics, the shark and the bats, although they wicked below it. We made a nice double bottom on the harmonic entries and we have the reaction there. So still no party for the S&P 500 until it breaks this 45.86 level. That's the reversal level on the daily time frame when it makes a higher high on the daily. It's a bit of gambling if it will break it or not. It's a coin flip, so I wouldn't take it. Just look at this these reversal flags on the S&P 500 lately, they have been calling the bottoms, or at least the pumps, perfectly again. We are now in a bit of a potential bearish trend flip though. TD count 9 on the daily today. So it wouldn't surprise me if the S&P would hit this price level and takes a pullback to probably 4300-ish. Dow Jones also needs to break that previous high. Is a bit less enthusiastic as the S&P 500. So tech stocks are doing better than the classical value stocks at the moment, which supports the rotation narrative from risk off assets to risk on assets at the moment. Nasdaq is also at a bearish, it's at a bearish harmonic. It does need to make some price confirmation there. Also a lot of work to done to make a higher high on the daily. So it still looks like there's more downside potential. Also count 9, potential reverse zone entering in the coming days. Trend momentum is dropping already quite a bit, even though the price action is sideways, so that could be a sign of some lower prices in the making. European stocks 600 index far away from making a higher high on the daily. Even it would mean 6% jump. It is trying to, we can adjust this probably to here. It did try to break the trend line, it's failed, and now it's testing it as resistance again. See if we can make a breakout. It has been in potential reverse zone for a couple of days now. 1, 2, 3, 4. It's the last day of the potential reverse zone. So today will probably show more downside or break the trend line and going for that previous daily high. Looking at my fundamental charts, let's start at the US dollar index, and it's really interesting what's happening there, because we saw a major Bitcoin breakout in the weekend, but Friday the DXY took a pump, but it didn't reach the previous high. It was close. So curious today. See, it didn't reach on the Friday. It didn't break the trend line, but today it just pumped up 0.5%. And curiously, Bitcoin is not dumping, so that's out of the ordinary behavior, and it's really close to testing that high on the US dollar. So interesting price action here, but for the moment it just looks like it's ranging in a very tight rectangle top, just in a zone somewhere like this. So until DXY breaks out from this zone, either to the downside or the upside, it's pretty much a coin flip on what it's doing. We are still in an upwards buying cycle, so we just have to wait on that one. I don't see any edges for bearish or bullish ones on this, besides it breaking the trend line, obviously. Stock markets we already taken a look at. Gold still above these price levels from the previous highs. Let's move this one to here. So we're still at above last year's summer high. Looks like it's confirming this 1918, 1915-ish as a support level, and it's trying to break out, has a bit of a pullback. There's not really a valid head and shoulder pattern here, even though I already saw some people calling that volume profile is not correct, and also the wickish left shoulder is a bit weird. It's not, doesn't look, if it's a head and shoulder, it's definitely a Quasimodo head and shoulder, as we call it. So long-term gold looks good. Yes, we do have a pullback, and if we take some basic retracement, look what it's done. It's floating, it's testing that 50, that 0.5, 50% retrace. In bullish conditions, that's often a bounce point. We didn't really make the, we were close to the 618 with that wick down that was instantly bought up. So long-term gold still looking at $2,600 to $3,000 if you go to the higher time frames. We're still trying to break out of the handle of this huge copper handle, and this could take a couple of more weeks to mature, but it's still looking long-term very good. What's next? Yeah, the daily Bitcoin chart, we'll take another look later. We're still on pretty much on track of my end of January rough prediction. This bottom came a bit sooner, and we're now just working our way up to that midline. That midline is around 51. If we take a few more days into April, if we go into April, it matures to 52. So expecting long-term, expecting 56k as next rejection point for a pullback to test 52k-ish. That would be the logical scenario. So far, this drawing has been on track perfectly. Obviously very rough, scribbly drawing, but it's fun to see it play out. BTC dominance still pretty much sideways, no real movement there. It is, though, getting an unconfirmed trend flip, so we might see some action to the downside on dominance, probably going down probably something like 8% in that neighborhood. So we could see a nice alt runs, more alt runs in the next couple of 1 to 2 days, I think. Like this week should be a good week for altcoins if we look at this. There is an argument for an alternative trend line here-ish. Yeah, there's definitely an argument here. So this is a bit of a reversal zone. We're not even reaching this bottom trend line here. So my guess is a couple of days of very good trading times for alts. And I'll do another, for the VIP members, I'll do another trade setup alt scan later today. Last week's one worked out perfectly with some very nice trades coming out of it. So definitely take a look. The interesting chart at the moment is Ethereum to Bitcoin, though. We see we're still in this bottom zone where we went down briefly, entering potential more downwards, but I must say we are still making, at least on the daily, where is the right drawing? When I'm live I always lose my drawings. If you take the bigger picture, we got a low, second higher low, third higher low, And you'll guess what I'm going. Fourth higher low. And we even had a fifth higher low. So high time frame, fundamentally Ethereum is just in a very accumulating range. You could make it a channel probably if you redraw it. Just going to move this out of the picture. And what Bitcoin has done, but Ethereum to Bitcoin has not done, we have not made a higher high on the daily chart. So there's a lot of work to be done. See, if we draw it out, Ethereum needs to move up compared to Bitcoin, outperform Bitcoin by more than 6% before we can say that the downtrend is properly reversed with a higher high on the daily. It does need to break this 0.72-ish range first before it can attempt that. But it's looking like it's trying. It's definitely a bit of a bull flag here. If you go to lower time frames, well, let's take a look at the 4-hour. There's definitely some nice patterns going on here. We did have a break of this symmetrical triangle here, but then again we went down. We couldn't really hold the breakout, and we're getting a very big push up here. So as soon as Ethereum to Bitcoin crosses this trend line, and I think somewhere here, I would definitely will take a look on that. And also if we fall below this level, this is the breakout zone for me to take a look at more detail at the Ethereum to Bitcoin chart on the lower time frames. But as said, high time frames still look like very long time accumulation, and we're pretty low in the range, so it's definitely looking like Ethereum could try to break out anytime soon. I think the price target, if we break out to the upside at this moment, would be 0.092, but if we reach 0.09, it would already be a very nice outperformance. So not a trade setup yet, but it's getting close. It's getting close. Looking really good long term still. I know there's a lot of things going on about Ethereum, and a lot of traders hate it, but because of the huge transaction fees. But don't forget, Ethereum has been more an enterprise blockchain in the last years. So there's a lot of transactions going on, and there's a lot of things moving on Ethereum. Just the smaller time traders are not happy to use it anymore, but I think the value of Ethereum is in the enterprise applications and not in the retail traders that care about the gas fees. And I think price action like this on these time frames just gives another confirmation of the more enterprise use of Ethereum. Some longs have taken profits, obviously. So the number of longs is on Bitfinex is decreasing a bit, but no real shorts are being added. Some shorts are even getting a few shorts getting closed. Like today, 5% of the shorts have been closed. This just signals profit taking. Easy as that. Because these longs have been slowly building since pretty much the low 40s, and obviously they have made a nice price gain, enough for them to 10% profit. So normal profit taking on the whale positions. Total market cap is not out of the woods yet. It did not break this very 2.12 trillion level. It didn't break out of the 2.2 top of the range. So Bitcoin is doing nice breakouts, but the rest of the market still has to follow. But it does have potential. It did break this high here, and that's a very significant sign. But I would like it to break out of this to above 2.2 trillion before I'm getting more happy about the total market cap here. Nasty thing is there are also some potential harmonics on the 2.2 trillion level, so that's definitely a very important one to watch. I think this is more important to watch than Bitcoin price itself at this moment in time. So yeah, locally a higher high, but I would like it to push up about 5 to 6% more and confirm that level as support. Going down to Bitcoin, the GAN action has been pretty amazing lately. We saw this bull flag work out perfectly, hitting the 44k, going sideways on this resistance, moving one zone up, going a bit more sideways, and now following this GAN line here. Now we broke out of some major resistance levels and straight to the next resistance box and GAN line here. So very well respected, and if we manage to hold this GAN line as a support, it would be very, very good. My guess is we might go down a bit, test it here, and hopefully we get something like either in this zone or even in this zone. But that's pretty much the channel that we're in. It's between this red gun here and this orange one here. Could be a bit of an expanding channel on that. So this might indicate some volatility between, let's say 46k and 48k in the coming time before we take another leg up. Quickly looking, we have some minor, not really any bearish divergences or harmonics on the lower time frames, not even to the 8 hour. Well, pretty much not even on the higher time frames until 58k ish is my guess. Low time frames on the hourly, we are in trend, potential trend exhaustion areas. We didn't really exit it yet, so there is still looking some nice action there. Let's see if we just quickly looking, trend momentum is still above 0. We are, let me just for clarity, I'll move to the flags on the overlay. This overlay version is just an interpretation of the trend profit oscillators. So we are in the 1 hour in a potential reverse zone after a buying cycle being completed. And I just want to turn off one alert because it's not that relevant at the moment. There we go. So we do have some potential reversal here, but so far it's just going sideways, and you see the fast flipping actions are taking that on. That's the relative strength delta here in this zone. It looked to go down, and it did go down for 0.4% ish, and it's now signaling potential upside continuation of the trend up, at least on the 1 hour. with the trend strength also stabilizing and not exiting yet. It looks a bit like this area here, where we also had a nice pump, entered the overbought territories, but did go sideways for a couple of hours, had another peak go sideways for quite a bit of a time. Trend exhaustion was called here, and it only went down. Let's see, after the uptrend was exhausted, it only managed to go down for about 0.8%. So short time frames, taking a break from this big pump. We did have a rejection at the 47,500-ish, but nothing too serious yet. Just looks like some sideways consolidation after a good solid pump. I'm just going to check where no, I lost some things here. Where's my comparison tool? There we go. Compare symbol. Let's take a look at CME. As this was the weekend, we do have, obviously after this price action, a bit of a CME gap. And that was when Bitcoin closed at 44,400-ish. So we do have somewhat of a CME gap that could get a fill. So keep in mind, be aware of that. That we're not going into some sneaky BART pattern or something. Because that CME price level is on this chart somewhere around, where did we really close? There. $44,500-ish would be the CME gap fill, bringing us back to this sideways range. So, although the oscillators don't say there's a definite reversal yet, if we get trend exhaustion signs here on the 1 hour, that's definitely a potential area to go to. And that would be a 5% drop there, losing all the weekend gains. Just looking back to the daily, we did make a higher high finally on this chart, getting some nice W patterns that potentially could break out. If we measure the W, let's take it conservatively. W breakout would bring us to yeah, 55.5k ish. I think the next level that we will probably see to the upside is that 52k. That was resistance here, twice on the double top when we took the next leg down. And the W breakout is also exactly this previous high, so I think this is quite a resistance zone to break on the daily, 52 to 55.5-ish. If we break that, there's little real resistance. We got the 60k obviously being a next level. So just important price levels to watch, that 52k, 55.8-ish. Then we have that 60k-ish, That's the right tool. 60k, 60k-ish. You know, I mean 60k. And then we got a lot of steps to take. It pretty much goes by 5k at a time, approximately. So, good overview. Maybe time for a bit of a pullback. If we go backtest this breakout to this trend level, we go back to 44,800-ish. That would also be close to the CME gap fill. So going back to backtest this trend line before continuing upwards would make a lot of sense in the current market with the CME gap. So that would mean a couple of percentage down before going up here. Then probably pull back again, enter this zone. So the way up is pretty volatile and choppy in my opinion at the moment, because there's so many resistances above from all these previous levels of these two peaks. There's a lot of work to be done on that count. All right, I think we covered this part. There is a lot of alt setups that are looking amazing at the moment. For the VIPs, I'll do a separate private stream later today to take the trade setups. Last week's trade setup have been amazing. I saw you guys posting like several hundreds of percent profits there. So well done, definitely. Just be careful, keep this scenario in mind where we backtest and see me gap fill in the coming days before taking another leg up. Alright, that's it for this morning on the Monday market analysis. Quick summary, Bitcoin looks great, finally broke the downtrend with a confirmed higher high on the daily. Stock markets look a bit nasty still, a long way to go from breaking that high time frame downtrend. The question is, if the stock markets plunge, will Bitcoin decouple and go its own way, or will it continue? Will it break back into this channel, and do we see 35k again, 35 to 36k as bottom of the channel again? Charts don't say it won't, but doesn't mean it won't happen. The macroeconomics could definitely overrule the fundamentals of Bitcoin, because the fundamentals look really good. We have the Terra Foundation buying, I think, like $1 billion of Bitcoin as treasury. We have things like Russia accepting Bitcoin for oil and gas instead of dollars or their own currencies. Fundamentally, there's so many good things going on, and if the macroeconomical situation has been better, there would be no reason why Bitcoin wouldn't be breaking all-time highs already. But yeah, stock markets do have, and dollars have, an impact on the bigger scale of things, so never lose sight of those. No matter how great the charts look, if the macro dumps, Bitcoin will initially follow. But there will be a day when we decouple and Bitcoin skyrockets up with the macro falling, when the world finally sees the light and moves to Bitcoin. But when that time comes, if it's in a few days or weeks or months or years, there's no way to tell yet. Anyway, thanks for watching. VIP guys, I'll see you in a couple of hours looking for alt setups, and I will be streaming some signals again later this week. Take care, be safe, and happy trading this week.